I met Bill Herrington at the La Plata Lake in 1940. He was with Fred Kruger, who was a geology professor at the college. And I had an old wooden boat. It was handmade, and it was the only boat on the lake. And I happened to be out there, and they wanted to know if I'd take them, row the boat for them to fish. So they had good luck, and they came back numerous times. And then they one time, I think this was in probably 41. They said they'd like to go home with me, and so I was on my bicycle, and they followed me home, and they said, we're going up north and we want to take Bill with us. And my mother said, well, said that would run into a day or two of school, and said we can't let him miss school. And Roger Kruger, he said, well, if I get Mr. Dell, he was his superintendent, if you get his permission, can you go? And she said yes. So Mr. Dell said, yeah, it'd be fine. Well, Kruger was a geology professor, and by the time I got back home, I knew the name of every rock from Canada to La Plata. And then they'd come often, and that was the only trip I made up north with them. And we fished on Lake of the Woods, which is up on the border, and we fished in Bowstring was where we stayed, in Bowstring, Minnesota, and Bowstring Lake, and it was a pretty good sized lake, and they had a spring there at the edge of the water, and you could open the valve, and it would you could get good drinking water. And the people who lived there, his name was Johnson, that had the camp. Well, there wasn't much of a camp, but that's where we stayed. And they had a son about 20 years old, and he was telling me about killing a bear. Well, I wanted to see the bear skin, so he showed it to me, and that night or two later, I was cleaning the fish. That was my job, and I heard it sound like a bear to me. And I took for the house and got the Johnson boy and told him, I said, there's a bear up there, I think. And so he got the flashlight and the gun, and we went up there, and there was a big tomcat up on the pile of fish eating. Of course, I got to fish too up there, you know.
Yeah.
And I got a 9-pound walleye, and that was the biggest walleye we caught. And I got a 4-pound bass, and that was the biggest bass.
Well, you did two good ones. Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember real well. But and Mr. Rogers' things here, they note that Bill Herrington was very strict about everything. And he was that way about rowing the boat. If he was a foot away from where he thought you ought to be, he corrected you. And I thought a lot of them. I thought both of them was really nice fellas. And they had this. They all had Fluger Supreme reels, and I wanted one the worst way. And of course, I knew it was $25.
Wow.
And they had one in the hardware store at La Plata, and I'd go in there and turn that handle, I think, every day. And Mr. Dodson, he's a nice old fella, and he said, Billy, he said, you've always got a job. He said, you just take that and bring me in a quarter and a dime or a nickel or whatever you got.
You got a deal.
And so I took it, and And of course, that's where I went every time I got a cent. And went in one day and he told me that, he said, "You've got it paid for." And I said, "Mr. Dodson, I know I don't." And he said, "Yes, you have." Said, "It's all paid for."
Wow.
And that reel is the one that I give you folks to put in your collection.
Oh,
So
good. That'd be good.
that's about where my history with them ends.
Well, so where? This is a, how do you pronounce it? Flieger?
Pfluger.
Fluger. A Fluger Supreme. Yeah, look at that. That's cool. And Jim Rogers gave you this. No, John
I bought
Rogers.
that.
You bought it. Oh, you bought it.
Yeah, it's the one that he was
bought it
putting nickels
new.
and dimes into.
Well, what does it say about you? A reel? Did you give him a reel?
Yeah, I give him
Yeah,
one,
that's
but
it.
this
But not
was
this one.
this was mine.
Yeah, okay.
This is the one I paid.
Okay, no, but in here you gave him one. That's what
I had.
I'm talking about. Yeah.
When I see something like this, I pick it up,
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
He wanted one so bad because Bill Herrington. That's what Bill, wasn't it, Bill?
What?
That's where you saw that was through Bill Harrington and the other gentleman fishing with him.
yeah,
Thought it was just the best thing, and they
they both
Yeah.
had them.
Yeah,
And now this piece here, that was the only thing about them that would wear out.
yeah,
And that little thing that run on this, see,
that's it.
and
See right here. He's talking about right there.
yeah, you had to get them.
replaced.
And see this right here, you take this out and that's for your spare,
For
that
the,
little piece.
for the spare level wind. Really, I didn't know that.
Bill Herrington Bait Company, Green City, Missouri. Well, that's pretty cool. Fluger Supreme reel given to me by Bill Bullock. This is the type of reel used by Bill Herrington when Bullock rode the boat for their fishing party in Canada. Well, you're right. You're in the book here. That's good.
And we thank you for the reel.
Yeah, and thanks for coming over to tell us about it. Green City.
See those Fluger Supreme reels, that's one of the last ones they made
Yeah,
because they started concentrating on airplanes.
yeah,
And these are aluminum.
sure.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
they,
short supply.
yeah, and I've got some newer ones, but they're not near,
Yeah.
they're not near like this, but
See, the people donated these, the Rogers family from Milan. See, they see the Outdoor Life magazine that has. We've got a magazine over at the museum that has these Bagomans advertised in it back in the 30s or 40s.
May 1933.
1933. Yeah. So they gave us the magazine too.
And that's it right there.
well, that's when he made them.
Yeah.
But see, he was out of the business and he'd sold them to an outfit in Kansas
I
City.
see. So he sold out to somebody.
Uh-huh.
We didn't know
To
that.
Kansas City, is that what you said?
Yeah,
Okay.
Kansas City.
that's according to what,
Harrington. Rogers told you.
yeah, Rogers, yeah.
Now, how did you meet Mr. Rogers?
Mr. Rogers was at the sports show at Kansas City, and I was looking at the plugs, and I said, "I don't see any Bagamads." He said, "What do you know about Bagamads?" And I said, "Well, I used to row the boat for Bill Herrington." Well, that created an uproar,
Yeah.
and here they all come. He said, "This fellow knew Bill Herrington."
John Rogers collected these. This was his collection, see.
Oh, yeah.
And when he died, he gave him his brother called me and wanted to know.
Oh, is John dead?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, John collected them, but after John died, Jim called me and said, "You got a museum in Green City?" And I said, "Yeah, we got one." He said, "Well, we got something we want to donate because it belongs in Green City." And he still contributes to the museum. We're grateful, he and his wife. Yeah.
Bill actually has one of the Bagamads
Oh, good.
in his collection.
Great.
I've got a world of lures.
Yours is like that one right there, isn't it, Bill?
Yeah, that's like mine.
Like which one was it? I didn't see
This
which.
one right here. Bill's got this one
Oh,
right
that
here.
red one,
It's
right
actually
on.
that one right there.
Yeah, okay.
The red and white one.
Yeah.
I don't know which bait came out first. I'm not good enough on that. But that's made just like, Bill, isn't it made just like a Lucky 13 except it's got the holes through it? Yeah, it's identical to it. So I don't know whether Bill Herrington came out with that before what they call a Lucky 13,
Yeah,
or the Lucky 13 came out first.
I don't know. I'm not.
But they're identical to that except the Bag-O-Mads have a hole through them.
Really?
And they're a dipped bait and the
Well,
other
did it
ones
serve,
weren't.
did it serve some purpose, you think?
I don't know,
Put the
Glenn.
holes in there, whether it made them stable in the water or something?
Yeah, I noticed some of
Yeah.
those have a different bill on them.
Yeah.
But they look just like what they call a Lucky 13, which is an older bait.
I don't know, I've got quite a few plugs, and I've got Mike brought a fella out to my house that was looking for a Winchester plug.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 5-hook Winchester with glass eyes.
Yeah.
And Mike brought him out there. He said Bill Bullock would be the only one to have one. And so he told me he knew I wouldn't have one, but he always asked. He said, I've never seen one. I'd really like to have one.
Mm-hmm.
And I was up in my office, and he said, I know I'll never see one. Oh, I said, look right there in front of you. And he said, oh, I don't think that's one. I said, well, look at it. He said, it is.
Yeah.
Guy that bought the old lake,
Mhm.
why, he collects lures. And he said I could probably get $500 for that
No, I
Winchester.
bet.
Winchester.
I bet.
See, they made it with 5 hooks, and 5 hooks is illegal.
Oh.
Winchester made a 5,
5-hook.
and you're only allowed to have 3 hooks on a bait or in the water at any
Oh,
time.
really?
So they
Okay.
didn't make very many of them. They didn't think about it at the
Well,
time.
Winchester, most people don't know that Winchester ever made plugs.
Yeah.
Is that the gun company?
Yeah,
Yeah, the gun company. Yeah.
and they made it's got 5 hooks on it. It's a little bit bigger than that, but there's 2 there's the 3 down the middle and then 2 on the side,
Yeah.
which makes it an illegal plug.
Hey, how old are you now?
92. I'll be 93 in
92
June.
years, and so you spent all your life in La Plata.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but you knew him from
But I've
fishing at the lake.
I've worked, I was a chief inspector on pipeline construction. And I've laid pipe from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico.